Hey, Andrew. Where the hell are you, pal? Get over here. The game's on. You almost missed the game.
What's going on? Wait, this isn't Nigel. This isn't the game.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. The game's on, man. Come on.
You know, Nigel, I think I'd enjoy this much more if I actually knew anything about Germany and their involvement in World War I and II. Because you always invite me here and I never know what's going on. It's like actually watching football. I don't know what's happening.
So you don't know anything about it, huh?
Not a clue.
Well, I got just the thing for you. You're not gay. Why do I invite you over here? Out! Get out! Woo! Don't you act like you did not know this one was coming. I tell you what, it's gonna be. Oh, the cap keeps closing. So in today's episode, we're gonna be talking about the Second and First World War. I said that wrong.
The Army's not the Army anymore. It's better than it's ever been before. The bugler blows, I can't get 'em up at 7:15. But if you're tired, stay right there and sleep until 11. Oh, the Army's not the Army anymore.
War. The year is 1914, and currently the whole Earth is kind of like a big boiling pot. And it's like at that point of boilage where you've had the lid on for too long, and it's about to spew molten lava water all over the kitchen. July 28th, 1914. This is a month after the assassination of France Duke Ferdinand and his wife. And well, with the Kaiser backing them, Austro-Hungary declared war on Serbia. This began the snowball effect of all the countries that would get involved in this little thing called World War I. Sides began to form. On one side we had the Allies, which were made up of Russia, France, and England, and the United States. But they weren't in the war yet. They come later. We'll get to them. We'll get to them later. On the opposing side is the Central Powers. They were made up of a few little countries we like to call Germany, Austria-Hungary, Italy. Am I forgetting a few? I might be. Those were the three main ones. Let me see if I'm forgetting any. And the Ottoman Empire. It was them, the Central Powers, versus the Allies, which at the time was called the Triple Entente, but kind of changed when the war went on to the Allies. And then in World War II, they also used the Allies, so... Germany began to march out of their country into other countries and, basically kind of started the war because, good old Germany, they like starting wars. Fast forward a little bit to January 19th, 1915. This is when Germany began to bomb London with their Zeppelins. And I don't mean the band Led Zeppelin. Also in the year 1915, England came up with a little scheme to kind of split the supplies from the Ottoman Empire to Germany right down the middle by taking a little canal that met the two countries, the two powers. And this would be called the Gallipoli Campaign, which, if you didn't know, didn't go too well. England and Australia pulled right up to the Ottoman Empire, which was basically the precursor to D-Day. This is like the great granddad of D-Day because it's basically the same thing, except not, because it's a different war. Anyway, the campaign was a complete failure. After the British invaded the Ottoman Empire, they were able to take a little bit of the beach, dug down in trenches for about a good solid few months, and then had to leave because too many people died and they weren't doing anything. And, well, the man who came up with this whole battle was kind of frowned upon for a while, but his campaign would pick up again later down the line in the Second World War. Churchill was a funny man. That was a bad transition. Oh, God. Let's fast forward to February 21st, 1916, otherwise known as my birthday, 84 years from then. Hey, yeah. Let's do the changa, the conga chunga. It also marked the beginning of the Battle of Verdun, one of the bloodiest battles of the entire war. Is this something I said? Not only was Verdun one of the bloodiest battles, but it was also the longest of the whole war, spanning from February 21st, that was itchy, February 21st, 1916, all the way to, I think it's like November, December 18th, 1916. Same year, just a few months later. Anyway, at the end of the battle, it ended with a French victory, but 300,000 casualties suffered by both sides. That doesn't mean each side had 300,000 casualties, they just... both combined was 300,000 casualties, which was quite a lot for one battle. That's about how much the U.S. lost in all of World War II. Give or take 100,000. I'm rounding here. Stay with me. Yeah, no, just dig the trench over there because we're going to do the whole tank scare scene later. So if you can just get that dug out, it would be great. What the are you doing here?
What are you doing?
I'm
a tank?
I'm filming the video.
What video? What? What?
Get him out of here. Get the bag. Get him. Grab him. Gag him. Tie him. No, don't break his... That is not supposed to bend. Just finish that up. I gotta go take care of something. No. Just keep watching the video, alright? It gets better. That's a lie. We're going to jump a little bit to July 1st, 1916. This was the beginning of what is known today as the worst battle in British history. This was called the Battle of the Somme. The Battle of the Somme began on July 1st and ended in November of 1916. This battle, like I said earlier, is one of the worst in British history. After bombarding the German line with artillery for 7 days straight, the British troops were given the order to walk to the German position. Not run, not jog, not hop, even though that'd be funny. They were met with a bit of machine gun fire. In one day, the British suffered 57,470 casualties. But the battle did end in a British victory thanks to a tiny little new invention that kind of shaped the war a little bit and kind of is still used a lot today. Little something called the tank. British invented the tank, and for the first time in all of history, a tank was used at the Battle of the Somme. First time it was ever used. So as you can probably imagine, the Germans were horrified. Because how would you feel if you saw a giant metal box on wheels that seemed to have two giant cannons on the side of it and was also bulletproof? You know what? I don't even have to explain it to you because I got some live, actual, real footage, vintage all the way back from the war, and it's going to show you what they really thought. And I think it's truly moving. Let's take a look at that. Huh. Just shoot at it! Oh! Oh! Jeez! Oh God, no, we're not doing this. Moving on to 1917. In this year, a lot of important stuff happened. One thing, for example, Oh, do you hear that? Why, that sounds like... April 6th, 1917. The war in Europe seemed like it was going to go on for a lot longer, and it wasn't looking good for the British right now. They needed new blood, new men. They needed the United States of America. But we didn't come till 1970. That was like 3 years in, so kind of a little late to the party. But as our nation joined, another dropped out. This nation, of course, is Russia. On December 5th, 1917, Germany and Russia signed an armistice, having Russia pulled out of the war, mostly because back home in Russia, they weren't doing so good. In fact, they were having a revolution. A little something called the Communist Party was trying to come on in. They were trying to come on in. And there was a war back there, so they were like, yeah, no, we can't do this anymore. We're going home. We're going home, Johnny. Home. Going back to Germany. Germany wasn't doing so great. They were losing a bunch of battles, and the future wasn't looking very bright for them. They needed to do something big if they ever had a chance of winning the war. So they did something big. In March 1917, in March of 1918, Germany created the biggest In March of 1918, Germany created the biggest offensive of the entire war. This was their last chance. They launched this offensive and broke through the Somme. They gained miles of land. The operation was a success for like 2 weeks. But with a lack of supplies and not every attack going as planned, Germany was unfortunately forced to retreat and give back all the land they took, and ended up losing more land. From now on, Germany was on the complete defensive. Any hope of them winning the war has faded. Even though they knew the war was not winnable in March, they were able to hold their lines until November of 1918, when the war ended. An armistice was signed with Germany that stated that the war was to end on November 11th at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Well, you knew this was coming. It's time to talk about the biggest part of German history. That's right. We're talking about the invention of the good old schnitzel, invented all the way back in good old 1865. My research said it was actually 1845, so I lied to you again. But that was also a lie. We're not talking about schnitzels. No. We are talking about the biggest, the baddest, the most terrifying winner of most destructive sequel since Caddyshack 2. That's right. We're talking about World War II. Not Caddyshack 2. That was a Holocaust in its own right.
God, the Shack is back. It's a story of high culture.
In 1933, a little guy, a little funny guy, a little comedian, came to power in Germany by the name of Adolf Hitler. After a few weeks, Hitler started just going through. He started taking all the places. He's like, hey, can I have a little bit of Czechoslovakia? You know, I'm a nice guy. They're like, sure, you can have a little bit of Czechoslovakia. Psych, I'm taking all of Czechoslovakia. Because I'm Adolf Hitler. What are you going to do about it? And you know what they did? Nothing. Because he's Adolf Hitler. What are you going to say? You're going to say no to him? You're going to say no to that guy? I'm not going to say no to him. Guy looks like he eats babies for breakfast. But Hitler crossed the fine white line when he invaded Poland. This is when England and France were like, all right, We're declaring war on you. No, it's over. You're done. You did the whole blitzkrieg thing on Poland. We ain't having it here. War declared. You're done, son. That's not what they really said. But it was close. On May 10th, 1940, Germany was prepared to invade France. But France had nothing to worry about because they had the Maginot Line, a line of bunkers along their border, and they were well defended and nearly impossible to penetrate. Unless you go around it, which Germany did. France fell about a month later on June 25th. A lot of good that line did you. Now Germany has pretty much control of all of Europe. And this is where they awake the sleeping bear. It's Russia. Hitler signed a peace agreement with Stalin saying that, hey, we won't attack you if you don't attack us. Just let us do our thing. And Stalin was like, all right, that is a good deal, my friend. I will take that deal. And what did Hitler do? Not Stalin. What did Hitler do? He broke the deal. He bulldozed into Russia a year after they signed it. He bulldozed in there with the Blitzkrieg, completely took the Russians off guard, took like half the actually populated country, like not half the country, that'd be insane, but a good most of it no one even lives in, so I'm going to say half of Russia they took. December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy. The United States was deliberately attacked by the Empire of Japan. I'm not trying to quote that word for word because I know I probably messed it up, so don't judge me. That's just... shut up. On the morning of December 7th, the Japanese Navy bombed the naval base at Pearl Harbor. This was a surprise attack on the U.S., and this is what got them into World War II. The following day, the U.S. declared war on Japan, which Germany responded with declaring war on the United States. It was official. The United States was heading to both fronts. This made England very happy because they weren't doing too good. They were kind of outnumbered, so they're like, cool, we need help. Moving on to 1944. The Allies needed to take back France. The Germans knew that they were going to be sending men across the English Channel, but they didn't know where. So the Allies made a fake inflatable army at the point where the Germans thought they were going to attack. They set up a bunch of inflatable tanks, planes, fake dummy men, and even had generals go there and scout the place out to make it look like it was a real base. But it wasn't. Fooled them all. Well, not all of them. All the pieces have fallen into place. This is June 6th, 1944.
Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force. You are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. About the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well trained, well equipped, and battle hardened. He will fight savagely. Marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory.
August 25th, 1944, the Allies were able to push into Paris and liberate the country. Nice job, guys. Later that year in December, the Germans had their final offensive. This was the Battle of the Bulge. The Germans once again tried to push through the Allied lines and see if they could cut off the supplies and see if they could get a foothold again. But unfortunately, the Allies won. Wait, no, that's fortunate. I don't know why I said unfortunately. Unfortunately for them, the Allies won. From now on, Germany was on the defensive. They were done for the rest of the war being offensive to people. Now they were defensive because other people were being offensive to them. I don't know where this is going. In March of 1945, the Allies marched through the Rhine. While they were doing this, the Russians have already beaten them and were marching on Berlin. But, unfortunately, in the following month, President Franklin Roosevelt passed away after winning his impossible fourth term. The country mourned as the 33rd President of the United States took office. Henry Truman. When I say mourned, I didn't mean they were like, oh, Henry Truman, no one wants this guy in office. I mean, they were sad for FDR, and Truman was just like, okay, I guess I'm president now. Let's go. After all this, Adolf Hitler, supposedly, killed himself in his bunker. Because he was like, oh, well, we lost. See you guys. Or was it cyanide? It was like, on May 2nd, 1945, the German forces surrendered to the Allies. The war in Europe was over. You know, I didn't really talk much about the Russians, but I don't think I have to. Here's a little educational video to tell you how the war on the Eastern Front really went down. Well, that brings an end to World War II. Now, I hope you... Wait a second, I didn't talk about the Pacific Theater. Let me do a little rundown about that. Anyway, this has been your friend Nigel, and hope you learned a little bit today, because these two events were pretty important to the world history, because, you know, they kind of shaped the world we live in today, so that's pretty important if you ask me. See if they wore their helmets like this, and the bullets wouldn't hit them in the face. Wow, I am like 98% stupid. Anyway, boys and girls, have a nice day. I hope you learned something, and yeah, just go check out some other videos. We got good old Franco-Prussian War. We got German from like a year ago, and then we got good old, I don't know if you can see this. You can see it, Papa Fructose, the Fall of Fructose documentary. I recommend you go give that one a watch. You really learn a lot. Anyway, have a good life, because I won't. I made this whole video not wearing pants. Y'all have a good night. And that is the stories of the First and Second World War. Andrew, Andrew? Where'd you go?